Gavi is a Microsoft MVP for artificial intelligence, as well as a Databricks MVP. So both Simon and Gavi are the only Databricks MVPs in the UK, and so are incredibly knowledgeable about both of those platforms. So Gavi, so thank you very much for joining us, and I'll hand over to you.
All right, thank you, Terry. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to jump straight into my slides because I've got a jam-packed session for everybody. Terry's done a great job in introducing me, but if you want to get in touch with me, my contact details are on the screen. And I'm going to just jump into 5 months ago, just 5 months ago, I stood up in front of a really lovely crowd in London where we were presenting our AI Advancing Innovation in person. And I spoke about how generative AI is changing the future of work, right? And I quoted all these facts where, 91% of organizations are experimenting or investing in Gen AI. And then you've got 75% of CEOs that are willing to dabble with Gen AI and have said that Gen AI certainly has a competitive edge. Also, 40% increase in terms of productivity with employees who use Gen AI. Now, 5 months ago, things have moved on pretty rapidly, right? Where are we now? I mean, if you look at the stats here that's provided on the screen, you see almost double AI private investments into Gen AI. And almost 50% of organizations have adopted AI in at least one business area. That's phenomenal, right? And also, I love this last one. 70% of employees are ready to embrace AI. Now, if you think back about 12 months ago, that numbers were way, way down. Now it's up to 70%. So really, really incredible. But we're not here to talk about all the good things about Gen AI and how they bring value to us, right? What we're here is to show you how we as a company, Advancing Analytics, have brought AI to life. And I'm going to demonstrate just 3 Gen AI use cases here, 3 Gen AI in action. So the first one, without naming the company names, because we're under NDA, we did a fantastic project with Cargo Insurances. Here, we leverage Azure OpenAI to collect all the documents in various places. And where we go, we enabled all the claim handlers to answer questions really efficiently. Now, this was a really interesting project because this is a kind of problem we see in most organizations where they have data stored in emails, in PDFs, in images, all over the place. Bringing them together is a huge challenge, or you're reliant on very selective people that have the knowledge to understand where to go and find that problem and then respond to their customers. Now, you can rely on those people, but they take ages. It doesn't happen in a timely fashion. Now, using Gen AI, using Azure OpenAI, we managed to make a huge impact. We reduced the response time for all claim handlers up to 50%. And this in turn, right, increase productivity significantly. Now, that's one use case that I wanted to demonstrate. I'm really proud of the team. The second use case is to do with an online IELTS ad tech company. This is one of my favorites as well. And having children myself, embarking on this project where we use Gen AI to provide loads and loads of students with personalized feedback in a timely fashion was really important to me, right? And what we saw was the consistent feedback that was provided by Gen AI. In fact, what we had from this project was 100% ROI improvement, where this company saw their productivity and profits increase by 100% just by implementing Gen AI to provide personalized feedback. And the last one is something really, really cool that I'll also touch on later on in my slide, where we helped a manufacturing software company to leverage, again, OpenAI to enable all the shop floor customer handlers or people that work on the shop floors to understand what's happening with factories, understand what the problems that are going to be facing, or even understand how to fix problems. Now, before we implemented this solution, it took them hours, up to a minimum of 2 hours, right down to 6 hours, right? And now we have increased that response time by 720 times. Now, this in turn has, this has actually, in terms of impact, It has, it's on the slides, up to $3 million in terms of savings for the customers. So huge benefits in terms of how GenAI is actually affecting real world customers and how we've implemented it in real world problems. All right, so we've kind of showcased, how we've implemented GenAI, and we showcased 3 fantastic use cases. But now we're going to look into trends. What's it going to be like in going into 2025? And if you watch Sai's keynote before, he's already touched on quite a few of this already. The first one is Agentic Framework or agent frameworks, where we use agents or LLM for task delegation and orchestration. This is a really cool one. The next one is Multimodel GenAI, and that's almost a natural transition from using RAG, where you're grounding textual data, to now expanding that to text, images, and audio for richer and more contextually aware applications. That's another cool trend that we are already seeing happening now, which will only grow in 2025. And the last one, and perhaps the most important one, is the LLM Ops, how we build scalable and robust infrastructure for really deploying large language models into production. So let's go into agent framework. And this is hot off the press. I put some kind of news articles, and these were probably a day old, right? Everybody's talking about agentic framework. And you'll see all the big vendors, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, everybody that software companies are all talking about implementing agentic frameworks. And I wanted to just showcase what's agent framework? Well, how is it so different to an LLM? And again, Sai already touched on it very briefly before, but I'm going to go through this and explain to this in terms of using an example. So I'm going to talk about how we would incorporate agents in terms of marketing, right? Creating content. So let's start with a traditional LLM, where we all know we go on to ChatGPT, or we use Azure OpenAI, and we say, look, write me an email for a shoe promotion. And GPTs, LLMs are very good at generating content. Now you can play around with it if it doesn't seem very right, and you can go back and you can change the prompt so you get exactly what you want at the end of it. Now moving on from that, we've got the RAG framework, right? Now RAG framework adds a bit more kind of nuance into using LLMs to generate marketing content. Here, what we are doing is we're grounding contextual data so that it's more personalized. You're generating personalized marketing campaigns. So as an example here, we can say, write a promotional email about running shoes for Simon. Now in the database, it's got all the history about what Simon has bought. It will grab that historical data and then generate very personalized content based on that contextual data. So it's brilliant. But moving on to agents, not only would they be able to generate personalized content, but they can also take it a step further. They can automatically schedule an email. They can analyze open rates, for example, and based on the rates, they can modify the campaign based on performance. And this is done all autonomously, and it's brilliant. So in summary, agents act autonomously, integrating reasoning and tools without manual intervention. Now, this is all very cool, very theoretical, but here I really wanted to showcase what our team here at Advancing Analytics are already starting to do with agents, right? So I've got a video to play here, and give me a second. I'll just play that video for you. Advancing HQ.
Hey, I'd like to get a new quote for an existing plan I have. Can you help me with that?
Welcome to Secure Life Insurance. I'd be happy to assist you with getting a new quote for your existing plan. To provide you with an accurate quote, could you please share some additional
sorry, I don't have an existing plan. I need a brand new quote. Can you help me with that?
Of course, I'd be glad to help you with a new quote. To get started, I'll need some information from you. Could you please provide your age, gender?
Yes, certainly. My age is 28. I'm a male. My BMI is 25. I have 2 children. I don't smoke, and I live in the Southwest.
Based on the information you provided, the estimated insurance claim amount for a new plan would be approximately $5,995.47. Please note that this is just...
Wow, that's a tad expensive. Do you have any other information that you can tell me about the services you offer as a provider?
Certainly. At Secure Life Insurance, we offer a variety of services to meet your insurance needs. Here's an overview of what we provide. 1. Life insurance plans. We offer term life, whole life, and universal life insurance policies. These can be tailored to provide financial security for your loved ones in case of your passing.
Ah, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to end the call now.
Right, so what you saw there was Chris from Advancing Analytics, right, implementing this whole orchestration here that you see. So it's based on an agent framework, and it's pretty complicated. What I love about that video is Chris is very impatient, just like me. He interrupts the agent. The agent is very patient, responds to Chris really well. The agent also understands accents and slangs really, really well. And I love that part of the video, right? But behind that video is pretty complex agent framework that we've implemented at Advancing Analytics. So what you can see on the screen, we use a multiple agents. And what the cool thing it does, it actually also talks to Databricks, where we are hosting machine learning models to do that prediction and regression based on the information that Chris provided. So this is really, really cool stuff. And I can see how it automates a lot of the workflow in a lot of verticals, especially in insurance verticals. Right. So moving on to the next kind of big trend in terms of GenAI is multimodal GenAI. Again, this is also starting to gain traction. If you use ChatGPT, you probably already realized that you can enable voice mode and you can convert audio to text really, really efficiently, right? And here, what we've also done is implemented that for one of our customers. So this workflow here, what it does is anybody with any languages can ask a question, and it will translate that particular language into English. And then that whole workflow downstream is orchestrated by multiple agents. So here, what we're doing is we're connecting to Databricks, and then we have an orchestrator deciding whether we do text to SQL, or we also do a RAG kind of framework where we are embedding documents to provide more richness and contextual response back to the user. So these are all stuff that we are already starting to do here at Advancing Analytics, and it's really, really cool. So you might say, oh my God, that looks amazing, right? But what are the benefits? Why should I be implementing this? What benefits does it have for the organization that I work with? And there's loads, but really what I want to touch on is just 3 benefits that you see on the screen. Agent frameworks have a huge potential to enhance customer experience. Speed up decision making. So what you saw there in the workflow is how it talks to Databricks, pulls down the regression model, gets the analysis and gets a prediction, augments other documents, and then provides the response. It speeds up decision making. And what it also does is allows organizations to scale effortlessly. So when you have demands, when you have peaks at demands at peak period, using an agent framework like what we've shown will allow you to scale really well. Okay, and the last one, and probably one of my most favorite one to talk about, is LLM Ops, right? Where we build scalable and robust infrastructure to make sure all the GenAI applications that we are developing at pilot succeed at production. And it's not easy, right? Even Ali Ghodsi back in the Data and AI Summit said 85% of GenAI projects have not made it to production. Now, if you go back about 5 years ago, this is the same trends that we saw with MLOps, machine learning and MLOps, where if you don't have the right frameworks, your machine learning model are not going to scale efficiently and successfully in production. And the reason being, right, it's not all bed of roses. There's huge challenges when it comes to GenAI implementation. And you're probably asking the question, why? Now, GenAI infrastructure is new. Nobody really understands or knows the best way to implement it. A lot of people are playing around with GenAI, But having productionizing GenAI application is a totally different beast. But here at Advancing Analytics, we've productionized 2 use cases, and we've gained some huge insights into what works and what doesn't work. And I've kind of itemized that into 5 points here, right? We've got scaling issues where you get performance dips during demand surges. How would you deal with that? You've got budget ambiguity where you've got many business units all leveraging a single OpenAI, for example, LLM model. How do you make sure who's using what? How do you understand the cost allocation? Security concerns is a huge, huge topic. And you've got operational blind spots, right? You don't understand how people are actually using large language model. And because of all of this, people spend a lot of time in the POCs or pilots, creating that infrastructure whereby they fail or it doesn't go very far beyond that pilot stage. So what we've done here is we've played around with it, we've understood, we've taken the learnings, and for example here, scaling issues, right? This is a huge one that we have faced from productionizing a couple of GenAI use cases. How do we deal with performance dips during demand surges? This is one option that we have at Advancing Analytics, and it's a pretty cool option. It allows you to distribute load. So for example, if you've got an OpenAI, an Azure OpenAI deployed in a particular region, and it's very slow, it spreads that load very effectively. What I like about it as well, you can do your blue-green deployment. So for example, if you're wanting to test one of your workflows, you can swap quite easily about it, between it. The adaptive throttling is something very, very recent that we've adopted here at Advancing Analytics, where it allows you, for example, to throttle between PTU, which is your provision throughput units, and TPN to get optimal performance. And all this by applying all the Azure APIM or API management, what it actually does, it supports any number of service endpoints to make sure that you've got the maximum amount of flexibility. The other thing that we've done at here, Advancing Analytics, is to understand how we mitigate unclear cost allocation for AI usage. So for here, for example, we've implemented solutions so we understand the tokens, understand which business units are using tokens, and we can also provision policies to make sure that's limited so it manages usage and prevents spikes. We also can do real-time monitoring. And also, we can do proactive blocking where we can estimate the token usage for prompts and then block the requests exceeding the limit before reaching the backend. And the last thing I want to talk about is operational blind spot, which is a big, big one for us here, right? And what we have done here is we've implemented this solution so we can have comprehensive logging. We can also track request response and resource usage through predefined tools and templates, and we get a holistic view of the entire usage of the entire infrastructure. So putting all this together, we've created a generate infrastructure will allow companies and our customers to take GenAI projects or applications done in pilot right through production. And this is really cool because what it does is it's got a huge amount of flexibility in terms of not only limiting to Azure OpenAI, we can use Databricks, for example, to develop large language model application to GenAI applications. We can use open source models as well, and everything is monitored and logged as well. So there are 3 reasons why we came up with Generate. And the 3 reasons are we wanted to help companies accelerate the experimentation of advanced GenAI use cases. We wanted to make sure all our AI services have got ultimate control and governance over the consumption. And also we wanted to make sure that all GenAI applications that's done in the pilot stage can be deployed really quickly and efficiently through to production. Right, and I'm going to finish up with one of our kind of how to succeed with AI. Based on all our learnings with our customers, we've got a 5-step GenAI strategy here. So if you're thinking about starting to implement GenAI, then start with defining your vision, right? Set objectives and use case. Prepare the foundation. We spoke about infrastructure and how at Advancing Analytics, we've got Generate as an infrastructure to help businesses scale the GenAI application. The next thing to do is to prototype and validate. So build and validate your GenAI models, implement AI governance and monitor AI implementation, and with that, expand and operationalize AI across business. Now, as Terry said, we've got loads of resources talking about, machine learning, GenAI, LLM ops, and machine learning. I've put a barcode there to a lot of blogs that we write, so please feel free to have a read. And we've got lots of YouTube videos as well talking about, GenAI and machine learning. And with that, I'm gonna leave this slide on for a couple of seconds, where we've got 2 white papers that talk about the AI revolution in insurance and retail, and it gives you insight into how people are already starting to incorporate GenAI within retail and insurance, and all the kind of challenges that you need to be aware of in terms of implementing GenAI.
Blown away, Gavi! Blimey! I mean, chock full of content. My advancing analytics branded socks have been blown off. Amazing stuff. I mean, Simon's trends are cool. Trusting your data platform is cool. That stuff is freaking cool. There's so many interesting things that you covered. Also, I mean, in the chats, like, round of applause for Gavi and the most animated slides I've ever seen.
Well,
I'm also going to give you £1, and hopefully you give me £3.50 back, right?
Exactly. For every pound that you invest in GenAI, well done for paying attention, Terry, you get $3.50 back.
Okay, I've got no idea about conversion rates, but I'm going to assume it's still good. Amazing, right? I mean, there is so much stuff that we could kind of get into. So I guess first of all, there is a huge breadth in terms of what you need to look at. And I kind of roll back and reflect on what it was to be a data scientist 5 years ago, where you almost had, 2 camps of the kind of ML engineer and a pure data scientist building models. But when I look at the breadth of what you've covered, it's staggering in terms of what you need to consider when building out an AI platform. What does a team really look like now? Do we expect that to be one person? Is that multiple people now? How does that kind of work?
That's a really good question, right? I think the way GenAI is moving and the way it's evolving, you almost need to adopt a lot of data engineering practices as well, right? So going back to your initial question to me, do you need trust in AI? Absolutely. You need trust. That initial bit, making sure your data is trusted. So whatever is fed into your GenAI model is not going to be producing rubbish. That's important. Second part of it is integrating into your infrastructure, and that takes a whole lot of engineering skills, right? And different skills as well. So what you saw on my slides before, APIM, that's all new to data scientists and AI engineers. We are having to learn that and incorporate that to make sure that all the GenAI applications that we build are successful, because you have to load balance all your requests. And it's a lot of different skills that are coming together. And it makes sense. If you look at Microsoft, for example, they're starting to integrate a lot of data science and engineering, or AI applications, right? So those are coming together a lot more than 5 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, again, some really interesting points in there. I kind of want to focus a little bit around the amazing demo that you showed that Chris had put together, kind of conversing with an insurance bot, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, you touched a lot on kind of agents. I wondered if you could explain a little bit about what is an agent and kind of what an agent does compared to, say, a typical sample API call. Like, where is an agent involved, and where do you end up using something, just an API or something similar?
So, and we can still use an API with an agent framework, right? But an agent has an ability to do very focused things, for example. So, going back to Chris's brilliant demo there, we had up to 3 agents. So we had 1 agent, for example, just talking to Databricks, where we are hosting machine learning models and constantly looping around, making sure that the model it's pulling down from Databricks is the right model, making sure that information that Chris fed in about his demographics are right, making sure all of those things are linked together. It's done by that particular agent. So it's got memory, it's got specific tools to actually understand what that forecast or prediction should be based on the information that's provided. Now we've got another agent that is looking at all Chris's previous historical information and making sure that, okay, based on his previous data, his historical information, this is what it's going to be like, right? And getting all that back together, it's an agent framework. By the end of it, can all be called via an API.
I am a little bit worried for Chris, though. When the AI robots rise, they're going to remember that Chris is interrupting them, and he's going to be first to go. I'm just saying.
I loved it. I loved it. You know, I loved it.
All right, Gavi, I mean, you're immersed, right, in the world of AI all day, every day. I'm really interested to know, what are you most excited about at the moment?
Honestly, I am really excited about the agent framework. I think it's got a lot of potential to revolutionize what we do now, and a lot of industries as well, to automate things without taking the human in the loop out. But I think in terms of accelerating productivity here, immense value. So I'm really excited about that.
Amazing. All right. Another question that I have for you. There's been a lot of talk this year, particularly when was it the kind of beginning of the summer, about how do people really realize the value from an investment. So you said, $1 spent, $3.50 back in return. And we had a day this year where, a lot of AI related shares kind of tanked because people were talking a lot about, we're not realizing the value necessarily in our AI investments. Now, looking at the use cases that you talked through, there's a huge impact baked into all of those. So how should anybody kind of watching today think about how they can go about really recognizing and realizing that value from their investment?
That's a very good question. So that's based on our 5-step GenAI strategy, right? Start small, start with a pilot, make sure you've got the infrastructure in place to allow you to scale, which will then immediately allow you to realize the value. It's the same as 5 years ago, Terry, where everyone was dabbling into machine learning models, right? But not having that platform to enable that being able to productionize machine learning models. It's the exact same thing as happening with GenAI models.
Amazing. Are there any last remarks or anything that you want to leave with anybody? Any call to actions? I know you said go and download those 2 flyers, 2 white papers.
Absolutely. And also, if you're looking into incorporating GenAI, we've had loads and loads of experience doing that with many customers. So come and speak to us, come and talk to us in terms of challenges we face, see how we can help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Amazing. Amazing topic. Thank you very much, Gavi.
Thank you for
see you
having
later.
me.